Shalom, giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Kakadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops who rule well, and salutations to the Akim who teaches word and preaches word. Shalom to the whole elect. This is your brother I by Nyami. I'm here to share another lesson. And earlier today I was just pondering, how man, identified one another before something like a photo ID, or a credit card or social security number, so on and so forth, right? And by other electrical means where like to unlock your phone. Some people may use a thumbprint scan or eye scan to log into their phones, and how a lot of businesses are adopting the palm scan to make purchases that is linked to a particular individual, or eye scan to make purchase withdrawals, right, for products from individuals. So I was just pondering, like, how did they identify who you were before all these things in ancient times? And I started reading and stuff a little bit, and I saw this article by the British Library of Medieval Manuscripts, posted on September 15, 2020. So I'm gonna read this a little bit to give a sense of how they registered and identified people back then for census and for certain things, right, leading up to the state of information that we are in today, leading up to the MOTB. So Lord willing, you edify. I'm gonna probably share scriptures in between to show in the Bible how they did certain things as well, if possible. So Lord willing, it be edifying unto you. Like, it's just something that intrigued my mind, and moving in the spirit. So Lord willing, this lesson be edifying unto you. Like, it says, before photo IDs were invented, right? It says identifying people correctly has always been a challenge. Even in ancient times, there were different ways to ensure that a person acting in a legal case, such as a sale, lease, adoption, or inheritance, was who they claimed to be. The most obvious identification is to record the individual's name, but this was not as straightforward as one may think, right? So, when I thought about that, I remembered, how Joseph had to go to Judea with his wife Mary, with Yahushua in tow, right? And she was pregnant. He had to go there to register, right, for the taxes, census, so on and so forth. So I'm gonna grab that real quick in the book of Luke, the 2nd chapter, and read from verse 1 on down a little bit. And it says, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor over Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, right, Judah, right, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. So he probably got in line at a particular office or setting, right? And when called up, he had to give his name and the the lineage or the tribe or the family that he was from to register, right? Also giving census as to the number of people that was in the city, and the taxes to be allotted for himself, his wife and his unborn child at the time. Yeah, so that was one way, like it said in the article, that people identify was just with the name. You had to take their word for it. Back then you had crooks, but people were a lot more honorable and honest, back then. So continuing on, it says, but this was not as straightforward as one may think. It says, to avoid confusion of people with the same names, people in ancient Greece had their personal name appended with that of their father. On this 2500 pottery shed, which an Athenian citizen used to vote for Pericles to be exiled from the city, he identified the right Pericles by putting down his name accompanied by Xanthipos, the name of his father. I'm going to look up the definition of a Pericles. Pericles definition. An Athenian statesman. See what else? Wikipedia. Pericles was a Greek politician and general during the gold age of Athens. He was prominent and influential in Athenian politics, particularly between the Greco-Persian Wars and the Peloponnesian War, which was acclaimed by Thucydides. Alright, so Greek politician. As he used his name and used his father's name to identify himself, kind of like what Joseph did. He probably said, Joseph, the tribe of Judah, descendant of King David, so on and so forth. It says this practice of recording the person and their father's name is reflected even in English personal names. If someone is called George Harrison, that would have been read as George, who is Harry's son. Piece of pottery dish inscribed with the name of Pericles, son of Xanthipos, submitted in a vote to exile him from Athens. Athens, mid-5th century BC, Athens, Agora, Museum, p. 16755, image courtesy Wikimedia Commons. In it. Next paragraph, it says, in Egypt, the system was the same, but it was often the master whose name was listed after a personal name. This double identification was not just satisfactory. In simple declaration of camels from AD 146, the declarant accurately identified himself as accurately identify himself with his own name and that of his father and grandfather. So he went a step further. I, Stototis, son of Stototis, grandson of Stototis, all three generations had the same name. And there's an inscription right here. It says the name of the declarant, Sototis, son of Sototis, son of Sototis, from the upper part of the papyrus sheet. Sakno Paoana, butcher that. Nessos, Egypt, AD 146, papyrus 39D, detail. The situation was even more complicated if the different parties to the transaction had the same name. In a lease from AD 94, in which Harry leased a large property to two tenants, these lessees were called Stototis of Apenches and Stototis, son of Stototis. In a sales contract from AD 166, we find women acting together with their families, whose name were all listed. To the proper horror of the clerk, all were called Stototis. Tarsus, daughter of Stototis, son of Horus, and her son Stototis, son of Stototis, acknowledged that they received 14 silver drachmas as earnest money for the property. That's probably there's a currency back then, right? A property from Taos, daughter of Stototis, son of Stototis, and a husband, Pabos, son of Satabos, son of Harpagatus. It says the beginning of a sales contract with a list of the parties involved. Neil Lopolis, Telel Rusas, Meris of Merak Ledes, man, this is something else, man. Asin Noat, Nome, Egypt, AD 166, Papyrus 334, detail. Keeping order in such a jungle of names would be easier today. The parties might be asked to provide a passport or photo ID. This is how far technology came, because the Most High increased the knowledge of of men. A passport or photo ID, for instance, each with a unique number are located to it. Right, remember that statement for later on and near the end of the video, right? Each with a unique number allocated to it, making it simpler to identify everyone. I'm gonna write that down, unique number, just in case it slipped my mind. Unique number. All right. In absence of such an option, ancient clerks reverted to another solution. They gave an accurate description of what the parties actually looked like. The notary recording the above sale in AD 146 are described. Each of the women and their families at their first notion in the document. This is how we know that Tarsus, daughter of Stotosis, son of Horus, was about 50 years old. Her exact date of birth was probably not recorded, and that she had a scar above the left elbow. Her son, Stototus, son of Stototus, was about 30 and had a scar on the right side of his forehead. It says large fragment from a papyrus sheet containing a contract of a land sale, Crocodilopolis, Egypt. It sounds Greek here. 107 BC, papyrus 657 detail. In another sales contract, from more than 2100 years ago, the two sisters selling the property to a man are described even more accurately. Taos, daughter of Harpos, is about 48, medium height, fair skin, round face, straight nose, with a scar on the forehead. Right, so see how things as time go on, how things, at least for identification, things progress. It says, reading these descriptions, one can almost visualize the faces of these two ancient women. They may have resembled the face of a lady recorded on one of the portraits found with mummies in the Fayum Oasis of Egypt. This is a good portrait too. Says portrait of Aline, also known as Tunos, Tempera of Lenin, Hawara, Fayum, circa AD 24. Man, these names: Egyptus, Museum, Berlin, Altes Museum. Right, there's the identification number. Their image courtesy of Wikimedia Commons. It says, even the earlier document from 242 BC preserves the will of a man described meticulously for identification. He was 65 years old, middle height, square built, dim-sighted, with a scar on the left part of the temple and on the right side of the jaw, and also below the cheek and above the upper lip. It says fragment from papyrus sheet preserving the testament of a man, Philadelphia, Egypt, 242 BC, papyrus 2332 detail. This elderly man in the latter stages of his life, but strong in stature, may have been not likely this portrait from another coffin in the Fayum. This is another good depiction. So, portrait of elderly man flanked by Egyptian gods, 8250, New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, for 4.2.2, image courtesy of Wikimedia Commons. It says, reading these ancient descriptive IDs, one may suppose that they are up on the spot by the clerks themselves. But so it's like reading these ancient descriptive IDs, one may suppose that they were made up on spot by the clerks themselves. But this is not always, but this may not always have been the case. In another papyrus from more than 2280 years ago, 2280 years ago, we read about the appointment of a new stone cutter for a project. Before they started their new jobs, the workers were presented to a committee in order to take down their descriptions. Here's a fragment from a papyrus sheet containing a letter concerning stone cutters. Asenowat, Nome, Egypt, 260 to 249 BC, papyrus 514. Continuing on, it says, this document does not say more about these descriptions and how they were recorded and preserved, but we assume that they could have been used in legal transactions. The accurate descriptions of the parties in various documents recording distinctive marks and features of the individuals involved may reflect some kind of archive identification of these people. Whatever the truth, these ancient IDs have preserved unique shots of everyday women, men, and children comparable to the famous Fayam portrait. And that concludes the article. So you see how from then to now, how identification and description, it advanced as time goes on, because first they were using names, the name of the father, then they went a step further, the names of the grandfather. They might give a description of a scar below your eye, below your chin, so on and so forth. And then, they invented the photo ID, giving people registration numbers and all of that. So, as you all see, that the MOTB, the chip is in place right now, and they are talking about it more and more in world news and in the news here in America. The payment system has been shifting from debit and credit cards to that of eye scanning and palm reading, right? So all of that is gonna be pushed into the MOTB, which is gonna have all the information, taxes, social security, employment history, medical history, identification, and everything. And even like it said in the article, that they will assign a unique number. So it is with these different MOTB chips. They will have it's all covered under the mark of the B666, but they will have a different you have a unique number, kind of like how your fingerprint is. Each one is unique to every individual, right? And your ID, your social security card, all these things are unique and pertain to one person, though they be of the same household. Like you may have brothers, sisters, and stuff. Everybody has a different identification or driver's license number. Same thing with the MOTB. When they put that out and they register you to it, when it goes under the skin, it will have a unique identification number to it. And I'm going to end it off with the scripture in the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and 16, which we should all know. And it says, and I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, He required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or in their forehead. And no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which was either the name of the beast or the number representing his name, right? Which is psi, stigma, I666. So as you see from many years ago, they couldn't implement this, you understand? So those that may say that the mark of the beast has been implemented, a long time ago, thousands of years ago, that's not the case. They didn't have the technology back then. And one of them was to correctly identify people. They have that technology now, right? And this is why they are pushing the green agenda, right? Cashless payments, so on and so forth. So these things are coming. They have all these things in place. It's just a matter of time before it is fully implemented. So this was just a thought in my mind, to do our lesson on, Lord willing, someone was edified by it and have accepted that the MOTB is the RFID microchip. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying unto elect, and until the next time, shalom.